Hello. In this video what I'd like to do is look at some more examples using the TVM Solver on your calculator. Remember that the TVM Solver is located on the Apps key, which on many of them is a different color, and it should be right close to the Alpha key. So if you locate the Apps key and hit that, the first thing you'll see at the very top should say Finance. Go ahead and select that, and then the first thing on the top of the Finance menu is going to be your TVM Solver. Once you go into TVM Solver, you're going to have a list of several items that you want to then find the values for, all but one of them, and you can use the solver to find out the missing value. So what I've got is I've got a sheet here with 6 examples, and I've got on that, so let's go ahead and look at that now. Okay, so here it is, and what I've got in there is the different things that you will see on your TVM Solver. The N, and remember N represents the total number of payment periods. The I% is always going to be your percentage as a percentage. You don't have to change to a decimal like you do for the formulas. Your PV stands for present value. PMT stands for payment. FV stands for future value. P/V stands for payments per year. C/V stands for compoundings per year, and then the payments can either be at the end or the beginning of the payment period. We're going to, for everything in this class, we're going to use payment period being at the end of the period. So let's look at this first example, and what I'm going to do is just fill in what the values are, and then you can plug those into your calculator and go ahead and figure out how to solve those. So if you read through here, first thing we want to find is we want to find N, which is our number of periods. Since we are compounding monthly, and since we're doing it for 3 years, it would be 3 times 12, or 36. All right, and that's what you're going to put in for that value on that one. And you can actually type it into the calculator as 3 times 12 and hit Enter, and it will put it in the 36 for you. Our interest rate, if you look up here, is 9%. So we go down here and we just put in a 9. Okay, our present value, well, we are starting with nothing, and we want to deposit money every month. So we're starting with nothing, so our present value is 0. Our payments are $150 a month. And in the TVM Solver, anytime money is going out from you, it's a negative value. Anytime money is coming to you, it's a positive value. So since we're paying out $150 every month, that's going to be a negative $150. Okay, the future value, that's what we want to know. So we want to know how much we'll have available in 3 years. So our future value is our unknown. So I'm just going to put a question mark in there for that. Our payments per year, we are doing it monthly. And so our payments and our compounding are going to be 12 times every year because it's monthly. And then you want to make sure that you have end highlighted on the last thing. Once you've got all those values in there, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to hit the Alpha key on your calculator, which on many of them is a green key or a different color key up in the upper left-hand corner. Not the second key, but the Alpha key. And then hit Enter. And notice that the Alpha color there on the Enter is a solve. So if you Alpha Enter, when you have the highlight on the future value, and it doesn't matter what you have in your future value, once you have that highlighted, then you hit Solve, and it's going to give you a value of $6,172.91 when you round it off. All right, so that's our first example. The second example, you want to deposit, or you have $300,000 in an account when you want to retire in 25 years. How much would you need to deposit each quarter in order to get there? And the account pays 7.5% compounded quarterly. So it doesn't matter what order you put these in. All right, so let's see here. We want to have $300,000 at the end of the time. So we could go to future value and put in $300,000. Make sure you got enough zeros in there. And we know that the time period here is 25 years, and it's quarterly. So this is going to be 25 years times quarters, which is going to give me 100 total time periods. Alrighty. Then our interest rate is 7.5%. Our present value, we are starting with nothing, and we are making payments. We're depositing every quarter, so what we don't know is our payment, so that's what we want to find out. And we're doing this quarterly, so both of these values should be 4. Now you can go back up here, and again, it doesn't matter what's in PMT at this point. You want to make sure that you have all the other values, the 100, the 7.5, the 0, the 300,000, 4, 4, and end. And then you're going to hit the second enter key, or the alpha enter key for solve, and what you should get is negative 1040.01. And it's negative because that's payments that you're paying out into this account. Then this is positive because that's how much is coming back to you at the end of time. So hopefully that one makes sense. Number 3, you take out an amortized loan of $86,500 in order to purchase an RV. If the loan is for 8 years at an interest rate of 6.5%, compounded monthly, determine your monthly payments. So I could go here and I could say, I know the interest rate is 6.5%. I know things are monthly. So these are going to be 12. I'm looking at 8 years, and it's monthly, so 8 times 12, and that's going to give me 96. Our present value is going to be $86,500, and that's going to be positive because it's money that we are getting to purchase this thing. Okay, and we want to pay this off, so our future value is going to get down to 0, and we want to know what our monthly payment is. Alrighty, so our monthly payment is going to be our unknown. We hit alpha enter, and we should get a value of negative 1157.91, which means that our monthly payment is $1,157.91. It's negative because it's going out. All right, we're paying that out. Now those are the ones that are from the last 2 sections of this chapter. Alrighty. Now I want to go back to the first part of this chapter when we were first dealing with compound interest and show you that we can use the the TVM solver for those as well when we don't have payments involved. So this first one says if you deposit $15,000 in an account that pays 11% interest, compounded quarterly, how much would you have in the account in 5 years? Now you could use the formula A equals P times 1 plus R over N to the NT, or you could use your TVM solver. Either one of them should work fine. So if we look, we are compounding quarterly, all right, and it's for 5 years. So that would be 5 years times quarterly would give us a total of 20 payments. Our interest rate is 11%. Our present value, we are depositing $15,000, so that means we are paying out $15,000 to an account. Our payments, we're actually making no payments at all. All right, so that would be 0. It's just a one-time value that's going in. Our future value is what we want to know. All righty. And our payments per year and compoundings per year are both 4 because it's quarterly. And when we plug that in, we get a value of $25,806. Now, if you do that on your calculator using the A equals P times 1 plus R over N to the NT, you can check that and make sure you get the same value. All right. Now let's go to a little bit different one, and this one's going to ask us what the interest rate is. Alrighty. So remember we had a way of solving that before using A equals P plus 1 over A equals P times 1 plus R over N to the NT, and we could solve that for R, but let me show you how to solve this using the TVM solver. So if we are looking at compounding monthly for 5 years, that's going to be 12 times 5, which is 60. Our interest rate is what we don't know. Okay, so we're going to have to come back and find that. We are depositing $8,000, so that's going to go out of our account, so that's going to be a negative. we are not making any payments. We're just taking that one lump sum and dumping it in. And it's going to grow to $12,000, and that money is going to come back to us. That's going to be positive. And if you have both of these the same sign, if you have them both 8,000 and 12,000 positive, when you try and solve for I, it's going to give you an error. It's going to say no sign change. And then our payments, we're dealing with monthly here, so those would both be 12. When we go to the TVM Solver on the calculator and hit solve, it's going to give us about 8.14%. All right, so that's our interest rate that we're getting. And again, you could check that by putting in 8,000 for your present value and the A equals B times 1 plus R over N to the NT, and plug in this value, 8.14. Your N would be 12 and your T would be 5, and see if you end up with $12,000 at the end of that time. Alrighty. And lastly, so for this one we solve for the interest rate. What I want to do on this one is, if you want to borrow $5,000 and agree to pay the balance in full when it reaches $8,000, how long would it take? Alright, so I want to solve for N on this one. Okay, so if you look back over what we've solved for our future value, we've solved for our payments, all right. We've solved for our future value here. We've solved for our interest rate. We've solved for, now we're going to solve for our N. And you can also solve for your present value. Okay, just a matter of what you're given and what you don't know. So our interest rate here is 15%. Our present value is $5,000, and we are borrowing that, which means it's coming to us, so it's going to be a positive. Payments, we're not going to make any payments. We're just going to pay it when it gets to $8,000. Since we're paying that out, it's going to be a negative $8,000. And since it is daily, alrighty, this needs to be 365. Then you can come up here and hit alpha enter, which is the solve, and it's going to give you about 1144, which, if you remember, this is in days, since we were doing everything in days. So if we were to divide that 1144 by 365, so this would be days, then you would get about 3.1 years. Okay, so in about 3.1 years, your balance on that loan would go from $5,000 to $8,000 if you're paying 15% compounded daily. All right, so hopefully that helps you feel a little bit more comfortable using the TVM Solver on your calculator.